At the beginning of the 21st century, in the center of Chongqing, there was a well-known tea house. But this was no ordinary place for drinking tea or playing cards. The reason for its sudden popularity was that it offered special services. With high-quality prostitutes and low prices, the tea house was once favored by many customers. Even more astonishingly, it was located right opposite the police station, openly carrying on the sex trade right under the noses of the police. With an unprecedented anti-crime campaign, all the big shots behind the tea house were brought down, and the hidden darkness and evil within the tea house gradually came to light. From 2000 to 2009, residents living in Chongqing almost all heard of a tea house called Bright Spot. This well-known tea house was located in the most flourishing area of Chongqing. The gate is tightly closed during the day, but at night, it was brightly lit and constantly filled with customers. However, what exactly went on inside was almost a tacit secret known to everyone at that time. It turned out that Bright Spot Tea House could almost be considered a brothel. At night, all kinds of prostitutes would appear inside. 80 yuan and warm boiled water were the two code names people used to describe Bright Spot Tea House at that time. The model it offered was that for just 80 yuan, you could buy a cup of warm boiled water and choose a prostitute for an hour of service. With its low prices and attentive service, Bright Spot Tea House gained the love of many customers. In addition, the reason why the Bright Spot Tea House was so popular was that it was extremely safe inside. Even the slogan, "When you're having fun at the Bright Spot, you don't have to run when the police come," once became the golden signboard of the Bright Spot Tea House. It is said that at that time, the tea house was always packed every night, and sometimes there could be as many as 100 people waiting in line. It's strange that the Bright Spot Tea House, which is clearly a place for sex trade, dares to operate so openly. After all, it is only separated from a district of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau by one street. How could they dare to run an illegal business right under the police's nose? What is the background of the boss here? In 2009, a campaign against organized crime swept through Chongqing. It was at this time that the Highlight Tea House was shut down by the anti-crime office. Over 100 prostitutes were arrested on the spot, and the madams fled with their bags packed. The once famous Bright Spot Tea House thus came to an end. And it was precisely this operation that exposed the true identities of the mysterious bosses behind the tea house. They turned out to be the famous sisters of the underworld in Chongqing, Wang Ziki and Wang Warning. However, from the subsequent exposure of the fallen officials, it was found that those involved with the Bright Spot Tea House included not only low-level officials but also high-ranking ones such as the Deputy Director of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau and the Deputy Director of the Public Security Administration Corps. This came as a shock to many. A storm of anti-crime has unexpectedly sparked a big drama of police and bandit collusion. As the investigation team delved deeper into the case, more darkness and evil hidden in the Bright Spot Tea House were gradually exposed. Wang Ziki, the elder sister of the Black Gang sisters, is also the biggest boss of the Bright Spot Tea House. After being arrested by the anti-gang office, she confessed her rise to power to the police. Surprisingly, the current Black Gang big sister Wang Ziki was originally just an ordinary rural woman. So, how did she end up on such a road of no return? Wang Ziki was born in a rural family in Chongqing in 1974. As the third child in the family, she was also called third sister by outsiders. Due to the large family size, Wang Ziki's parents lived a very hard life to support their several children. Wang Ziki was extremely beautiful since childhood, and her face was her most proud feature. Even when she was at school, she received many privileges because of her pretty looks. Boys constantly invited her to meals and did things for her in pursuit of her. Even teachers would let her represent her class and school in performances because of her cute appearance. Because she was used to a life of privilege at school, once the holiday came and she returned home, seeing her family's poverty, Wang Ziki would experience a huge sense of disparity. Gradually, Wang Ziki began to detest the simple life at home. At that time, she believed that she could lead a better life merely by her beauty. Thus, from then on, Wang Ziki developed the idea of making a living by her looks in the future. And such an idea grew stronger as she grew older. A few years later, when Wang Ziki's eldest brother was 17, he was sentenced to death for fighting with a few hooligans outside and causing someone's death. Without the pillar of the family, the Wang family's life became increasingly difficult. However, the fate of her eldest brother did not remind Wang Ziki to observe law, but instead made her more disgusted with her original family and gave her the idea of escape. So in 1990, After graduating from high school, Wang Ziki stopped her studies and began working in the city to earn money. At that time, she firmly believed that she could make a name for herself. However, after 4 years of working, Wang Ziki had only managed to save a few tens of thousands of yuan. Fed up with being under someone else's command, she decided to start her own business and become a boss. So in 1994, Wang Ziki withdrew all her savings and in partnership with her sister Wang Waning, opened a Yushin beauty salon, hoping to make a fortune. Wang Ziki believed that with her outstanding beauty and the experience she had accumulated from working for 4 years, this business would surely be a surefire success. However, reality gave the Wang sisters a hard lesson. Since the beauty salon opened, it could be described as having very few customers. This was completely different from what they had imagined. Not only did it dash their dreams of making a fortune, but it had even reached a point where they couldn't even earn enough for their own living expenses. This made Wang Ziki extremely distressed. She had carefully investigated the market situation before, and only started this business after seeing other beauty salons making money. How could her business be so quiet now that she had her own salon? Subsequently, Wang Ziki began to constantly consult with her peers and eventually summed up the secret to the other beauty salon's thriving business, which was to provide special services to customers. Wang Ziki suddenly realized that the real money-making business of the beauty salon was not the so-called beauty treatments, but the hidden special services. So the Wang sisters, in order to make money, transformed themselves into madams and recruited several girls to secretly run a sex business in the beauty salon. However, what the Wang sisters didn't expect was that even after introducing special services, the business of beauty salons still remained bleak. This situation made them extremely anxious because now the salon had to support not only themselves but also pay the salaries of several newly hired girls. This state of being in the red persisted for several months, causing the Wang sisters great distress. Just when the beauty salon was on the verge of closing down, the appearance of 2 mysterious people brought its business back to life. They were Zhong Guangyu and Dao Minggu. Zhong Guangyu is known as Sister Zhong. She originally worked in the prostitution business. Before joining the Wang sisters' beauty salon, she had been in the flesh trade for many years. Not only did she know the unwritten rules of the industry inside out, but she also knew many of her colleagues. Dao Minggu has long been involved in the management of the sex work. He has worked in many bars and beauty salons before, and managed many prostitutes. He is also familiar with the ins and outs of this field. The 2 people found the Wang sisters and claimed that they were very experienced in the flesh trade. They were confident that under their management, the Wang sisters' beauty salon would thrive. But at the same time, they also made a demand to the Wang sisters. Once the business took off, they wanted a status only under the Wang sisters. The arrival of Zhong Guangyu and Dao Minggu was like a timely help to the Wang sisters' beauty salon. To revitalize the salon, the Wang sisters had already made up their minds to go all out. Therefore, they naturally agreed to the conditions proposed by the 2. Subsequently, the 4 hit it off and began to formulate their business plan. Dao Minggu, with rich experience, immediately spotted the problem with the struggling beauty salon. He said that for the salon to attract customers now, the first thing to do is to build a reputation. As for how to build a reputation, it is essential to have regular whores. Zhong Guangyu strongly agreed with Dao Minggu's suggestion, because those who have been in this circle know that many famous stores are actually famous because of the people inside. With a stable group of whores, many people will come for the reputation of the whores. In this way, it won't be long before the beauty salon becomes extremely popular. The Wang sisters thought it made perfect sense upon hearing this. But then they were plunged into a new worry. Where on earth could they find such regular whores? Previously, the whores in the beauty salon were all introduced by colleagues. But due to the poor business, many whores no longer want to work here and have chosen to leave. Now the beauty salon is on the verge of going bankrupt and can't afford to pay high salaries to the whores. Who would be willing to come here then? In response to this, Dao Minggu proposed a solution. That was to go to the labor market and find young girls with no social experience. He would attract them with high pay and then seize their ID cards, forcing them to become prostitutes offering special services. At the very beginning, the Wang sisters were extremely shocked by Dao Minggu's suggestion. Such a heartless method was something they would never do under any circumstances. However, seeing the beauty salon's business getting worse day by day, they eventually decided to do it for the sake of making money. After a moment of hesitation, the 4 of them went to the labor market to deceive people together. Little did they know that this was just the beginning of their criminal path. After finalizing their plan, the four of them began to use the pretext of recruiting workers to go to the labor market for recruitment. Facing the women who came to apply, they talked smoothly and confidently, claiming that their beauty salon was in urgent need of staff at the moment. Joining at this time not only offered high wages and good benefits, but also great prospects for promotion in the future. Many women with little social experience, upon hearing that a small beauty salon could offer such attractive terms, immediately became enthusiastic and chose to join. However, they did not know that they were about to embark on a path filled with darkness and evil. After the gang of four lured many women from the labor market, they asked them to report to the beauty salon at a specified time. On Zhong Guangyu's suggestion, the Wang sisters detained all their IDs and mobile phones under the pretext of uniform accommodation, uniform haircuts, and uniform physical examinations, and locked them all in a small dark room. During this period, the gang of four members did not provide any food or drink to these women. The purpose was to cultivate their obedience. Even if some were still unwilling at the end, after a beating, almost no one dared to disobey. In this way, the first batch of regular girls for the beauty salon was recruited. Sure enough, after the first batch of regular girls were hired, the business of the beauty salon picked up at a visible speed. Not only did it make a huge profit, but it also gained a good reputation among many beauty salons. Seeing the money in their pockets grow more and more, the desires of several people also swelled. In order to expand their business, the four decided to increase their scale. So, following their previous modus operandi, they continued to deceive women's trust in the labor market, making them the second or even third batch of regular girls. In this way, the number of regular whores in the beauty salon grew from just a few at the beginning to over 100 later on. As the number of the fixed girls increased, Wang Ziki began to divide them into more than 10 types of jobs. Some were responsible for service, some for cash collection, and some for punishing the disobedient girls, and so on. In addition to this, in order to enable the ladies to better serve customers, Zhong Guangyu also hired a male and a female teaching instructor for them, who were responsible for giving them lessons on service skills. Later, the victim stated in an interview that in the teaching venue, dozens or even hundreds of girls were sitting around in a classroom, while two teachers were in the middle teaching. The degree of sex and the intensity was so great that it caused a huge psychological shadow to the victim. After the training, the whore's service skills were significantly better than before, and thus attracted more customers. At this time, the beauty salon even launched the slogan, "There's nothing a customer can think of that our whores can't do." With their diverse services, Yushin Beauty Salon became well known throughout Chongqing. This also brought considerable profits to the four gangsters. Subsequently, in order to amass wealth, they opened branches of hotels and tea houses in places such as Jiangjiao Lane and Wuxi Road in Yuzhong District, Chongqing City, thereby conducting larger-scale prostitution activities. And, because the number of fixed whores is increasing, there have been incidents such as attempts to escape. To manage the fixed girls more strictly, the gang of four recruited many idle people in society and made them act as enforcers, responsible for controlling the fixed girls and dealing with unruly customers. After that, the gang of four's business grew bigger and bigger. They even carried out this illegal business right under the noses of the police. In 1998, Wang Ziki announced that she would open a tea house in the most prosperous area of Chongqing. This tea house would debut on an unprecedented scale. The tea house mentioned by Wang Ziki was later the renowned Bright Spot Tea House. After the opening of the Bright Spot Tea House, it not only attracted many regular customers, but also drew many new customers who came for its reputation. In order to ensure the efficient operation of the Bright Spot Tea House, the gang of four began to implement fascist-style management over the girls working there. The accommodation they provided for the girls was simply abysmal. Some dormitories were infested with spiders and cockroaches, while others didn't even have beds. At night, more than 10 girls would huddle together on the cold and filthy floor to sleep. Not only that, the gang of four would arrange for dedicated personnel to pick up and drop off these women every day to and from work, just to prevent them from running away. For these women, there was no such thing as a vacation. Whether it was their menstrual period or a miscarriage, they were forced to work. If they failed to meet their performance targets, they would be subjected to inhumane punishments, with no dignity at all. If he encounters a disobedient girl, Dao Minggu has one ultimate move. That is to tie the girl to an iron bed and beat and violate her in front of everyone. The means are extremely terrifying and outrageous. During this period, several young girls were brutally tortured by the gang of four. Both physically and mentally, they suffered severe damage. Even after being rescued, they would automatically take off their clothes as soon as they saw a man, as if it were a reflex action. Their hands and feet had to be tightly bound for them to fall asleep. In this way, With a series of military-style management measures implemented by the 4 gang members, the girls were brought into line and became obedient. Besides, the Bright Spot Tea House also introduced an 80 yuan model. For just 80 yuan, customers could enjoy the meticulous services provided by the girls. This model attracted many people to come, and the business of the Bright Spot Tea House became increasingly prosperous. However, this has also aroused the curiosity of many of his peers. The Bright Spot Tea House is located right across from a district branch of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau. How could they run such a thriving business of prostitution right under the noses of the police? There must be something fishy going on. Besides its attractive prices and services, Bright Spot Tea House had another major selling point: safety. As everyone knows, prostitution is illegal. Getting caught not only meant punishment for the sex workers, but also a permanent stain on the customers' records, leading to social death. Zhong Guangyu and Dao Minggu, with their years of experience in the flesh trade, understood this all too well. To safely profit, the Gang of 4 went to great lengths. Wang Ziki was the first to realize that true safety required protection from powerful figures in the government. Before the tea house officially opened, the gang investigated and learned that Wen Qiong, deputy director of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau, was a notorious womanizer. After studying his preferences, Wang Ziki used her connections to arrange a dinner with him. At the dinner, Wang Ziki's striking beauty and eloquent mouth quickly won Wen Qiong over. She became his mistress. With Wen Qiong as their shield, Bright Spot Tea House was boldly built right across from the police station. Over time, Wang Ziki also courted other officials. In 2005, at the peak of the tea house's success, she bribed Chen Dao, then deputy captain of the Chongqing Public Order Brigade, 8 times, and provided him with free special services over a dozen times. Similarly, Huang Yang, deputy captain of the Criminal Police Brigade, repeatedly used Wang Ziki's sex workers. Later investigations confirmed that Chen Dao and Huang Yang were key subordinates of Wen Qiong. The gang didn't stop at political protection. To avoid police raids, they installed alarm systems, stationed lookouts in the halls and corridors, and trained workers to escape within 25 seconds if triggered. They even staged mock police raids. They arranged for specialized actors to impersonate police officers to arrest people, and also conducted interrogation drills for who failed to escape in time. If a sex worker admitted to illegal activities or named the gang during these drills, she'd be locked in a dark room and savagely beaten. Through a series of drills, the ladies in the Bright Spot Tea House became skilled escape masters one by one. Even if caught, they can respond fluently to police questioning. With officials covering them externally and ironclad discipline internally, the gang grew increasingly brazen. A notorious incident, the May 7th shooting, exposed their invincibility. On May 7, 2002, a customer did not fully enjoy himself in the Bright Spot Tea House and continued to harass and beat sex worker after service ended. The sex worker sneaked out of the room out of fear and sought protection from the tea house's security. The customer accused the sex worker of serving other men and opened fire, killing 3 and injuring 1. Despite the high-profile case, the tea house continued operating as usual, and after 20 days of investigation, the case was closed with a simple announcement. In the announcement, the special case team described the incident as that the suspect went to the tea house to play and had a quarrel with the waiter, so he shot at the crowd with resentment, causing casualties. In this way, after the 5.7 shooting incident, the Bright Spot Tea House was not affected at all, but became even more famous and became a paradise for clients, because they knew that there must be experts behind this tea house to protect them, and it was undoubtedly very safe to search for excitement here. It was not until the downfall of Wen Qiong that the truth of this incident came to light. It turned out that the reason why the Bright Point Tea House was able to avoid this disaster was entirely because Wen Qiong was the leader of the 5.7 shooting case investigation team. The hasty closure of the case was all instructed by Wen Qiong. As the business grew more prosperous and the money in their pockets increased, the Gang of 4 led by Wang Ziki clearly drifted away. They had a stable customer base, obedient ladies, and more importantly, their Bright Spot Tea House had an impenetrable protective umbrella in the officialdom. At that time, the Gang of 4 had become so arrogant that they could not only beat and scold the ladies, but also recklessly harm them in the face of extreme disobedience. However, at that time, they may not have expected that a storm of anti-crime would expose their sins to the world. In 2008, Chen Dao visited the Bright Spot Tea House again. However, this time he was not looking for excitement, but brought news to the Gang of 4 that Wang Jianjun had arrived. At that time, a nationwide crackdown on organized crime and corruption swept through the country. The central government dispatched many officials to various provinces and cities to investigate the situation of corruption and bribery in different regions. And Wang Jianjun was one of the officials dispatched, because he was ruthless and quick in handling cases. Wang Jianjun's name once made corrupt elements like Wen Qiong and Chen Dao tremble at the sound of it. After Wang Jianjun parachuted into Chongqing, he immediately launched a massive anti-crime storm. Through investigation, he quickly identified the criminal gang led by Wen Qiong. After Wen Qiong was taken away for investigation, the Gang of Four immediately received a report from follower. As the saying goes, the tree fell and the monkeys scattered. The four quickly helped to divide all the money, and then the scattered people fled to various places. Wang Ziki fled to Shenyang after several twists and turns, while Wang Wanning directly fled abroad. After more than 2 months of pursuit by the Anti-Crime Office, on September 9, 2008, the Gang of Four led by Wang Ziki and more than 50 members of the Brightpoint Teahouse gang were finally arrested and brought to justice. Faced with rigorous interrogation by the police, the Gang of Four was clearly unable to resist and quickly admitted to their criminal activities. In 2010, the case was heard by the Chongqing People's Court. During the trial, the Gang of Four, led by Wang Ziki, confessed to their crimes without hesitation. According to the investigation, the Gang of Four organization forced over 300 women to engage in sexual services millions of times, illegally accumulating over 100 million yuan in wealth. During this period, at least 2 people were seriously injured, 5 people were lightly injured, and 7 people were lightly injured. In the end, the 4 individuals were sentenced to death for various crimes including forced prostitution, intentional injury, bribery, and organized crime, among others. Wen Qiong, then the deputy director of Chongqing Public Security Bureau, was also sentenced to death for bribery, covering up, criminal organization, etc. On December 7, 2011, Wang Ziki, who had committed numerous evil deeds, finally received the bullet of justice. Prior to this, she had been interviewed and was deeply moved when asked by reporters. Wang Ziki said that if she had a chance to start over in life, she would rather choose to live a simple and ordinary life. Unfortunately, she has no way back now, and even if she had to start over, simple meals may not really satisfy her bottomless desires. Regarding this case, what do you have to say? Welcome to discuss and interact with us in the comments section. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this case, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow Case Diaries, there are plenty more cases coming your way. Got thoughts on today's story? Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. See you in the next one.